Good evening. Nice to see you all. Just before the meeting, Darren said to me, no, he was going to let you in because you're waiting at the door. And he couldn't remember how to do it. So I said, have you done it before? Thinking, I think he's done it before. And he says, I'm not sure. Because, of course, you haven't ever done anything before. Not really. There's no before. This is the first time. This hasn't happened before. This has never happened before. I mean, that alone is astounding, isn't it? So the memory appears that you've done it before, or the body reacts as if it's done it before, but there isn't actually a before. This is brand new, completely fresh, always. It doesn't help. It doesn't help being fresh, but I don't know, if the past, the burden of the past being real is nice to be rid of, that you're not carrying the past appears or not. When this is obviously fresh, when this is obviously brand new, never before, there's just no memory. There's just no comparison. There's no, oh, this is how it's always been. It's always been this way. No, it's never been this way. There is only the way this is. And this has never been this before, and will never be again. And everything about it being, oh, the same as yesterday, or that happened a week ago, it's just stories, and the stories appear or not. But there's a lightness to stories that reality just doesn't have. My real life, my real continuity, my real existence is the weight. That's what weighs so heavy. And of course, it weighs even heavier when I'm responsible for my life, when I am the manager of my life, when I'm in control, or I should be in control, and I feel out of control. Life is neither in control or out of control. There's no controller. Life's just happening, completely free. There's no finding liberation. There's no finding freedom. There is only freedom. And the freedom is that this seems to be just as it seems to be. That's not mystical. That's not spiritual. It's not really a mystery. It's just not an answer. And you may have already realized that looking for answers, as soon as you feel you've got an answer, something resonates and you think, oh, that That feels right. That's probably part of the puzzle. That's part of the answer. No, there aren't any parts. There is no puzzle. There is no answer. That's the freedom. The freedom is from the one who desires there to be an answer, who thinks there must be a solution. This is insoluble. You can't catch this. You can't hold it. You can't have it. That's why it's free. So in one sense, it's a mystery in that it can't be solved, but it's not mysterious. It's the most ordinary mystery, the most mundane mystery. The most obvious miracle. And the miracle is that there's anything at all. That there is this being, this aliveness, this just as it is. That's all. Nothing more. There is no more. And so the search is over. There is nothing to find after all the seeking. You never traveled. You never moved. There was really no movement. There was no path, no journey. You didn't get here. Just here. Only here. And if that hits, it won't be a revelation at all. It will be a revelation of what is, which of course was all there ever was. There is only what is. And even that is saying too much, that what is only what seems to be. There's no knowing what is. There's no understanding what is. And so if you've been a long time seeker of the truth, of the reality, of the absolute, it can feel devastating. What the fuck am I going to do now? I've been a seeker and there's nothing to find. And I don't doubt that there's nothing to find. It's completely doubtless. So what's the point? Well, there isn't a point. That's the point. Life is wonderfully pointless. And it may dawn that you were always the point. In both senses of the word. You were the point that was looking from, and you were the point in that you were trying to become whole. You were trying to become complete. You were trying to become at peace. You were probably trying to become enlightened. I don't know. But there's no one to do any of that. And the peace that passes all understanding is that there's nothing that needs to be done. Doing just naturally happens or not. And there's no right doing and no wrong doing. There's just seeming doing. It is wonderfully liberating to be free from doing the right thing and the fear of doing the wrong thing, fear of failure, fear of disapproval, fear of rejection, fear of punishment. Now, I don't mean that I like punishment and I like rejection. No, the preference would be for none of those. But the fear of it would just doesn't appear because that was all for me. How would I feel? And of course, it rests on I know what is the right thing. Now it's really obvious I don't know what is the right action. So all the Buddhist Eightfold Path is burnt to ashes. There's no right intention. There's no right thought. There's no right doing. There's no right action. There's no right anything. Nor is there wrong. Just what each human being judges. The whole notion that there's a intrinsic righteousness in any action or any thought or any emotion just evaporates. And maybe the oddest thing of all is that feels like unconditional love without that judgment. And it's undoubted that each human being acts as they act and could not act another way. And again, that feels like unconditional love. It doesn't mean you like their actions, it doesn't mean you agree with their actions. No, not at all. In fact, hideous, abhorrent behavior is more abhorrent, if anything, but it's not judged as wrong. And that's very, very liberating. That feels so free. It's basically so without self, there's no God. I'm of course I don't know this, but it seems really clear that self made God in his own image. And so we had a very judgmental, vengeful, envious, self-righteous God. And even the religions without a God, of course, there's karma. It's just by the back door, isn't it? Really? You will get your comeuppance. There will be eventually there will be justice. I think if you just look at nature, it's so obvious that justice is just a human imagined quality of being, of life. It doesn't exist. apart from in the minds of human beings. So the death of the just world, or the just universe, or a just God, or a just awareness, or a just consciousness, seen for the fairy tales that they are. And again, it's immensely liberating. Not in a dramatic way, but in a very easy, ordinary, straightforward way. Not in some, I don't know, spiritual bullshit way. I went and had fish and chips for lunch with my brother today. And in the chip shop was an old guy that my dad used to work with. And he used to do the working men's clubs as a comedian. And he told me a joke. I went to the cake shop. Said, how much are the cakes? They're 2 for 75p. How much for one? 50p. I'll have the other one. It's pretty good. It's not great, but he makes those up. He sits at home now. He's about 85, and he sits at home and makes those jokes up. So I said, is it all right if I tell your joke at the meeting this evening? And he was thrilled. I said, it's a worldwide audience. His name is Tick Few. It's a great name. Well, if you've got anything you'd like to ask or share about anything anything really, just put your hand up or just ask.
Hello.
Gabriella. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello. Well,
Hello.
I did like the cake joke. So obviously,
Is that what? That's all you've liked so far?
well, sort of. I mean,
It's better than nothing.
it's better than nothing. I did expect to get nothing, and I got something, so that's good.
There you go.
But it's like it's what you're saying about, so what you're saying is just like, wow, that's just so liberating. It's so amazing, and it's so devastating all at the same time. Because none of
Yes.
it's for me, is it? It's none of
There's
it's.
fuck all. No, nothing for you,
Nothing.
Gabby. No, nothing. Nothing for you whatsoever.
Well, I'll have to go back to the cake then.
Exactly. So I might as well. Well, you did say you ate 4 slices of cake. I'm sorry to tell everybody that, but yeah, I mean, it's best. It's best that I out you now. And if
It's
if
true.
there's nothing to be gained, there's nothing for me. Of course, that is the liberation. That is it. Because of course, there's nothing to lose, is there? So eat the fucking cake. But I only say that if you like cake, not if you don't like cake. If you don't like cake and someone offers you cake, you very politely say, no, thank you. Stick your cake.
Right up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But no, I mean the liberation, I can't emphasize that enough, is that there isn't anything for you.
Mm.
Because there isn't, but there isn't anything not for you either, because there's no you for anything to be for or not. So I mean, it's not as bad as it sounds, but to me, it sounds dreadful. To self, it can feel completely devastating. Because what the fuck did I do all that for? You know, all that you've done. Well, again, it's wonderful. You never did any of that. None of that ever happened. You know, you can stay in the story and say, "Oh, woe is me" with my tragic story, which self loves wallowing in that shit because it makes me very solid and very real. I mean, that's powerful shit. That and self, it has to be seen that self loves this. Self loves misery because self couldn't give a shit about the human being at all. Self just wants to survive as me. And the best way I survive is in my tragic story that's real.
It's only real, yeah.
And of course, I mean, when you talk to people, most human beings just want to tell you their tragic story. That's it, really. Or then rarely there's the successful selves who feel successful rather than a piece of shit, which most selves do. The successful ones are even worse. They tell you their fucking success story, which is nothing more dreadful than having to listen to that shit, as you well know. So you go, well, I'll just hang around with the sad ones because at least, you know, it makes me feel a little bit better about my shit story.
It's true, yeah.
There's nothing worse than the grandiose, successful selves, is there?
No, that is definitely true.
I mean, it's like, God. But no, yeah, there's nothing for you.
but it was it's quite interesting what you just said. It's like that it sort of feels devastating for me, but actually if there isn't any me, then you know it's just like there's an
Yeah.
you know
Well, in the story, it probably will feel devastating until it doesn't.
Mhm.
And then you won't even notice. And you'll have to try and remember, or there'll be oh yeah, I remember when it was. I can't really remember why it was so devastating because,
Interesting, isn't it?
but it's because my story is so important that I make the story real. That's what it's the sense of me is the reality of me and
Yeah,
my life.
yeah.
So self will not have it. It might hear that this is brand new and this has never been before. But of course, if that is true, then I don't exist, do I? And none of my life has existed. And of course, self goes, well, you can, I mean, I quite like the sound of it on one level, but you can fuck off. It can't be true.
I like the freedom sound of it, but the actual sound of it, that
Yes.
it's really not me. Well, it's like it's like, well, no, hang on a minute. I'll
Whoa,
have
whoa,
the
whoa. You've
freedom.
just gone. I like the idea, but now you've gone too far.
You always have to go too far, Timothy.
Yeah, you've got some nice ideas, but you always have to take them a little bit too far. We had somebody at golf say that to me. They went, "Do you know some of your posts I like, and then you always just have to go and spoil it." And I went,
Yeah.
"Well, that is the intention."
Yeah, that's obvious.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, I'm going to go and find some cake. And
Or
let's.
share, yeah, share it now.
Okay.
We'll share virtual cake.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you wish everyone the liberation of just eating cake for cake's sake?
Hi, Tim.
Hello.
Hello. I love your conversation with Gabriella.
Ah, thanks.
Yes, and I just wanted to say it's so amazing that nothing is wrong.
Yeah. And nothing is right.
Yes.
Here's the thing, because the problem that self has is that, of course, it really does want nothing to be wrong. That's what I'm striving for. I mean, I would say I spent most of my life trying to get everything right, trying to make everything right, trying to make myself right, trying to make my career right, make my relationship right, everything. And of course, it wasn't possible. Self is always trying to do the impossible. And wonders why it's endless frustration and neurosis about getting it wrong or not succeeding in getting it right. So there's no sin. And the annihilation of the whole concept of sin is wonderful. Because of course, without me, there can be no sin. Without the sinner. So that doesn't mean that there's not behavior and actions that you don't find deplorable or abhorrent. It's just that there's empathy for the perpetrator of those dreadful actions. Who would choose to do those if there was a free choice? How would a human being choose to be so full of fear that they do dreadful acts? It's just so obvious that no one would choose that. There's no chooser of any of it.
Thanks, Tim.
Oh, thanks, Anita.
Baron has his hand up.
Who does? Baron? Oh, hello,
Baron.
Baron.
Hi. Hi,
Hello,
Tim.
mate. Hi.
So you're basically saying that there's no control.
Hmm.
And that's really depressing for me,
Good.
because it can sound liberating, but it also means whatever is,
Yes.
and you cannot do anything about that.
No, you can't do anything, but there can be any doing about that. There could be any doing.
But is there a difference between I cannot do it, but there can be a doing?
Well, absolutely no, there is no difference because there is no I that ever does the doing. But is there a seeming difference? Yeah, there's a massive seeming difference in that there can be just doing is what is actually happening. But what self says is I'm doing it. Now, in the sense of those two can feel incredibly different. Of course, they're not different because already there's no one doing anything. But the one who wants to maintain control and wants to be driving the dream bus still doesn't want to let go of the wheel for fear of going off the road. That's all. Now, there isn't a driver of the dream bus. There is just the dream bus going along, seemingly, in that analogy. You could say the bus is driving itself.
Yeah, and if the bus
Like
is
one of those, like one of those new Ubers, new cabs in LA.
but if the bus is going into the abyss, you cannot do anything about it. That's terrifying.
Now, now here's the thing about the abyss, Baron. This is the abyss. So there is only the abyss. Self is terrified of the abyss, and what the abyss is to self is where I have no control and I don't actually exist. So I won't know what to do, and I won't know where to go, and I won't have any. Well, it's more than I won't have any control. I won't actually be present to have control or not. Now that is the case already. So the abyss isn't anything to fear. This is already completely empty. So this fullness that we call being alive, this is the emptiness. This is the nothingness. This is already the abyss. And I know it can feel. I remember the terror. I haven't forgotten how terrified I felt that total lack of control felt. Of course, there is nothing to fear because it is already. You could say it's already naturally how life is. Life is already unknowable, and the abyss is just really the darkness where I don't know anything. So everything is the abyss already. And this isn't that terrifying, is it?
Yeah, sometimes it is.
Yeah. And when would those times be?
I mean, if it's like if it's existential.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would it be like? What would the dread be? What would be the fear, the terror?
Death.
Right.
Death. Yeah.
Yeah. Now there is something more terrifying than death, which is non-existent. Because of course, self tells all kinds of stories about, okay, the body dies, but I don't die. I live on. So death isn't that terrifying, really. That's why self has created so many afterlife stories, after bodily death stories. And how popular near-death experiences. Oh, I know this isn't the end because I've been there and I've come back. Well, of course, self loves that shit.
But the end, that's the terrifying thing.
No,
The
this is the end. This is the end, Baron. There's nothing to fear. This is the end.
But this is not the end.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I don't get it. This is not the end.
Well, you won't get it. There's nothing to get. So this is, I mean, this is the end. Of course, it's the end. What comes after this then? What comes after this?
The next thing, always the next.
No, where's the next thing, Baron?
It comes up and it goes again.
Honestly, the next thing doesn't come up. This is the end.
Yeah, but sometimes feelings change, thoughts change.
Only if you remember the ones that have already died.
Yeah, I do.
I know you do. And yeah, and I do as well. I mean, there's still memory, but I mean, it is a memory, and the memory appears, you know, that appears and just the same. It's not of the past, the memory. It's fresh and new.
But in that moment, if you feel depressed or there's no hope, there's just an emptiness, but not the good kind of emptiness, the bad kind of emptiness.
I love that. So what you're telling me is you only want the good emptiness,
Yes.
and you can stick your terrifying emptiness. I don't want that one.
Yeah.
And the good emptiness would be the freedom,
Yes.
but the bad emptiness has the fear of no control and not being able to manage my life.
Not being able to change bad things.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there aren't any bad things. There's just things you don't like, and they're the ones you're calling bad.
Yeah, but it's natural not to like
Absolutely natural, yeah.
depression or something.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm not saying that at all. This isn't suggesting that depression or painful feelings aren't painful. It's quite the opposite. If there's painful feelings, there's just painful feelings. And if there's existential dread and terror, that's what there is.
Yes, and you cannot change that, and that's terrifying.
No. Yeah, because self says, well, I'm the one that would change that.
Yeah.
And without me, then I wouldn't be able to change it. So that was how it will be forever.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a scare story that self loves that scare story because that keeps me really in the driving seat. Because I need to pull myself together. I need to sort out some strategies. I need to get my shit together so I can get my hands on the so that I'm back in control. But the thing about depression, all feelings. Surely it's obvious already that feelings are really just like the weather. Aren't they?
They are, but for example, if someone has suicidal thoughts, you probably wouldn't say, hey, you cannot do anything about it. I mean, I don't know. There are people who have, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I know. I've had suicidal thoughts. Most of my friends have had nearly everyone I know, if they're honest, has had periods in their life where they've felt I could just end the pain.
Yeah.
If I could just end the pain, so I'll kill the body. But remember, this is so self can live. So self tells the story, I kill the body, then I won't have to feel this pain.
Yes, I think I would say my question is basically what to do if you're in that state of depression or suicidal thoughts, or yeah.
I would say the same as I've always said to people who have been suicidal, is talk about it. The people who commit suicide, who actively kill their body, are those who don't share it. Virtually everyone I've ever known who's shared their suicidal feelings does not attempt to kill themselves. Now, that's not universal, but there you go. That's simple, isn't it? So what do? You just say, well, who have you spoken to? Have you got any friends you could speak to? Do you want to speak to me about it? How has it got to this? Why is it so painful? How does it feel? And I mean, that's just human compassion.
Yeah. And does that drop away? Is that there, like still there for you? Depression?
I would say, yeah, although this, as you've inferred, Baron, this might not sound compassionate, but actually it's all compassion for the human condition. That's what this is. The motivation to speak about this is love of being human. That's all there is. Well, for human beings, that's all there is. And and the years of suffering that I, as a human being, suffered at the hands of myself, you could say, of this illusory one who thought that it was his job to make everything right, to sort himself out, to sort every fucking thing out, you know? And the thing about life isn't a job. You don't have a job, Baron. I mean, if I could, I'd just make you redundant now. I mean, self is redundant. That's the message. You're fucking worthless. You're pointless. You're good for nothing. And those seemingly abusive words, because most souls would, if I go up the pub later and I say that to any of my mates, I'm in trouble. But that's all the love is in that. Of course, you're not worth less than any other human being. You're not worth more. The equality is in no, there aren't any selves that are higher or lower or worth more or less. There isn't anyone. There aren't any good ones. There aren't any bad ones. There aren't any righteous ones. There aren't any evil ones. There aren't any sinful ones. There aren't any angelic, saintly ones. There are human beings you like being around and you like their company, and there are others who you will try to avoid at all costs. Now, that is already the case. There's nothing new about that. But you probably say, well, I ought to give them a chance, no, just stay away. Hang around with people who you feel good around. But
Yeah,
in terms of what you can do, Baron, you can do absolutely nothing to become the you that you want to be, or the no you that you've imagined you could be. There isn't anyone to become no one. And that's the dilemma of non-duality meetings. I went to non-duality meetings for years, waiting until I knew that I was no one. That isn't going to happen. There is no one to know no one. What a joke. But it's wonderful. I mean, that's the cosmic joke is the liberation. It's the end of seeking. There's nothing to look for, nothing to be found.
Yeah, thank you.
But Baron, I would just say naturally, if you don't feel good, then you just naturally just do whatever makes you feel better. And it's just common sense. It's just natural. When I felt depressed, the thing I felt best was lying in bed all day with the duvet over my head. So that's what I did. So what? thing is, self goes, it's a big deal because I'm not working, I'm not functional, I'm dysfunctional, I'll never work again, I'll never be any use, no one will ever love me, everyone will reject me, I'm an abject failure. And self loves all that self-talk. It's wonderful in making me feel very, very real. Sadness is sadness. Life is sad. I'm not talking about unremitting joy and bliss. You'll have to go to another meeting for that. There's plenty of people selling that. You may have noticed joy's not for sale. It's just not, is it? Joy appears unbidden, as all emotion does. Every thought, every emotion, every feeling, every action, regardless of what self says, comes from nowhere and returns to nowhere. And in between, there is a seeming something, but it's only a seeming something. So the seeming something is a thought or a memory or a feeling or an emotion or an action. But you won't find, the whole illusion is that I know where they came from and I know where they went to. No, they just, there is no source. Not, if there is a source, you can forget about finding it. I mean, I don't doubt that there isn't a source. How could there be a source of everything and nothing? So when I'm speaking about nothing and everything, I'm not referring to nothing as the source of everything. I'm saying everything is nothing. Everything is empty. It doesn't, so things don't come into existence from nothing and then return to nothing, like we're told at a funeral, you know, dust to dust, ashes to ashes. So you came into being, you've existed a lifetime, and then you've returned to nothing. No. Nothing is the ever present. Emptiness is the fullness. This aliveness is death. Death is not waiting for you. Death is not to be feared. Aliveness is dead. The great duality of life and death do not exist. They're not separate. They're not two. There is nothing that isn't present. Nothing is just as present as everything. And if you think I've worked that out, and that's why I say those words, you couldn't be further from the truth. I've got no idea what any of that means, and yet I don't doubt any of it. What a load of, I mean, it's just, it's so nonsensical. That's why studying is, I cried and cried for how hard I tried to understand non-duality. And I mean it, I'm not a great student, but it's the only thing that I really thought, okay, I'll commit myself totally to this, to understand the non-dual message. And the grandest joke of all is that, of course, all that understanding was completely worthless. And that's the motivation to speak of it. Understanding is all this talk about clarity. You know how seekers like to compare who's got the who do you like? Which non-duality speakers do you like? Well, I like so and so because he has the greatest clarity. I mean, he's so clear. And then someone else, yeah, he's quite clear, but he doesn't really have the understanding of that she has. And I just think, what the fuck? It's so far off the mark as to be, it's all laughable. Wonderfully laughable. Got another joke. I don't know why suddenly I'm a comedian. I've always wanted to be a comedian. You might have guessed that. My brother said to me today, isn't it ironic that our nan, my grandmother, always used to say, Timothy, you're so full of yourself. He said, that's really ironic that you're a non-duality speaker. And that was her main description of you. And he said, and you know, it still applies. That's what he thought. So the emptiness and the fullness are not two, are they? So empty of self, full of self. There is no self. And maybe another biggest joke of all of the speakers that you think, because they talk about this, that they don't have a self, they're all full of themselves, aren't they? Have you noticed? I have. And by that, I mean, this is liberation for the character, because there isn't a self doing this human being. This human being just does without a doer. And so empty of self may well appear more full of self. That's funny. Not that funny, but I think it's funny. Well, I've talked a lot this evening. I've enjoyed myself far too much, full of myself as usual. And thanks for those people who have, thanks to Baron, thanks Gabby. Has anybody else got anything they'd like to ask about?
I was thinking about the whole cake thing. It seems like the governor is off. The governor for the governor for cake and all those things is just nowhere to be found.
By the governor, do you mean the restriction, the thing that's holding you back? Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, this is disinhibiting for the character, you could say. So again, the reason I might call this unconditional love is because it's very loving for the human being. Because what would you wish for every human being? Of course, you don't wish it for the ones you don't like, but all the ones you like and love, you'd wish them to be liberated and less inhibited. And it's not hard to see what the inhibition is. The inhibition is me. And that'll make me fat. If I'm fat, then I'll be unattractive. If I'm unattractive, my wife won't fancy me. And then I'll leave, and then I'll just eat more cake, and then I'll just get fatter and more unattractive. And then no one will like me. You know, all of those stories. So, yeah, the disinhibitor.
Yep.
And I would, I've spoken about it before, and of course, the greatest inhibition of all is self-consciousness. I don't know if you feel the same, but I just know self-consciousness is just awful, just hideous. This total fantasy that others could see me.
Yeah,
And I,
you know,
you know,
it's
okay, sorry, go on, Sequoia.
well, I was just going to say that it, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't mean that the physiological sense of self-consciousness will never arise again.
Oh no, it can arise.
It's just that there's nothing for it to attach to.
Yeah, you could say that. I would say, I mean, now the other day I did blush, because blushing is the old, you know, that's a great sign of self-consciousness. And I blushed and
Yeah.
I thought, I can't remember the last time I did that. And it was something really odd that made me blush. I can't even remember. I blocked it out probably. But I will say, just for self, how it was for me, I was always self-conscious because I was always referencing myself. And because I'm referencing myself, I self believes it's real. So of course I'm real, then you can see me. And so when I behave and you say I don't like it when you do that, it's referring to it's referring to me. And of course it's not. It just means you don't like that behavior. And so now if you don't like my behavior, I might apologize. I might say fuck off. I don't know. It could be any response, but what there won't be is this neurotic sense of, oh, I've really made a terrible error because you don't like it and you don't like me. Because I no longer is there, you don't like me if you don't like my behavior and you don't like my actions and my words. Just means you didn't like that action and the words. It's nothing to do with me. And it really doesn't feel anything to do with me because it's not. And believe it or not, that makes interactions with others much, much easier. And it might initially, if you start behaving differently, then it obviously can affect relationships, close relationships. But because the others think they know you. So the very basis of relationships can be undermined by that.
The others are doing a dance that's no longer happening here.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's disconcerting for people.
Yeah. And people goes, oh, Tim, Sequoia, she's changed, hasn't she? Do you think she's okay? She's changed. I don't even know her anymore. Oh, who's that? Lauren? Thanks, Sequoia. Hi, Lauren.
Hey, Tim. Hi. Good to see you. Thanks for the meeting.
Oh, thank you.
So in the sense that, there may not be a neurotic investment in, the whatever approval of others, there's still always going to be a practical consequence to being excluded or being included. And so there has to be a certain level of functional, participation. Yeah. And so I was just wondering, like, on that level, can there still be like muscle tension as a result of like social interaction?
Oh, there could be physical responses to be if you don't want to be where you are and you want to escape, I'd be surprised if there's not some physiological reaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's nothing to do with me and never was. So the only difference would be, if there's a sense that I am me, then of course I'm responsible for that and I need to do something about it. Whereas without that sense, then it's just naturally what's happening.
Hmm. And about that, nothing can be said.
No.
Right? Okay, thanks.
No. I mean, in a sense, what we're talking about isn't anything changing at all. So I'm not talking about a shift. You can't shift from self to no self. There's no one to do that. There's no self, but there's a human being suffering under the delusion of being me. That's it. And really, I prefer the word delusion than illusion. I think it's better, really. Self is self-deluded. And it's a cyclical thought and feeling pattern. If it was just thinking, self wouldn't be so all pervasive, but it is a bodily felt sense of being inside and being there, of being an entity, of being an existent thing inside the body, but the body is empty, as everything else. The emptiness is all pervasive. There is no inside and outside. The emptiness inside is identical with the outside, the emptiness outside. And so there is no, the whole of non-duality is this sense of being inside, separate from everything else outside, which does not exist. That's the whole me-ing game. But remember, self, this delusory being that you've called me, is so invested in this, it will do anything to survive. And the main survival mechanism is fear. So of course, if there's a challenging of this, and there's nothing more challenging than coming to these meetings, then of course there will be fear. Self will make sure there's fear, because fear will bring me back to an illusory sense of solidity that I am. Yeah, I'm afraid, then I'm real. Well, what's time? 8 minutes past. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Got to get a bit heavy there. I've told jokes and then I got a bit heavy. It's all good. Well, thanks for coming. Lovely to see you all.
Thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
Tim and Darren.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Anita.
Darren.
Thank
Thanks, Tim.
you.
Thank you.
I was going to tell you what I'm doing next, but I don't think I've got anything to tell you. No. If you'd like to if you're watching this on Zoom and you'd like to be on the email list to be invited to the meetings, then just email me at clisstim@gmail.com. And if you'd like to make a donation, you can just go to my website and click on donate, and you can donate either via PayPal or TransferWise. Thanks, everybody.